Welcome back to another episode of the Jesus Cartel with me, per usual, Mr. Clay. Clay, how are you doing, brother?
Man, life is good. Things are good. It's the day after Christmas, right?
Yes.
And we're working.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yep, I worked Christmas Eve. You worked Christmas Day,
Right.
and we're back to normal today.
Yeah.
So it's always good, man. You know, a lot of people get the holidays off completely. I think that's a wonderful thing. But it's also truly cool to get to be around with the guys and stuff during these times, and just I'm trying to find the best way to word this. We're all the same, you know what I mean? And I mean that in the sense of I enjoy my time with the guys. And I think that a lot of times when the guys are with us during the holidays and stuff like that, they have a lot of, man, I hate that I'm missing this. And rightfully so. You know, that's absolutely there. But I enjoy getting to being there on Christmas Eve and getting to hang around, and you know, I just like watch them play pool and different stuff like that. And you know, you got some work I have to do too, but I just enjoy being around them. They are an extension of family to me, and it genuinely feels that way. I like being at work. I like being around my coworkers and the people that I work with to serve and try to help, and I hope that comes across. You know, I hope that it comes across to them that we genuinely do enjoy that time. It's not begrudging to me.
Right.
I wasn't kicking myself. It's like, oh man, I got to be here on Christmas Eve. Like, I don't feel that way.
Right.
And I would have been fine working Christmas Day. It's just easier. If I'm working one or the other, it's easier for me to do Christmas Day because of the small kids and stuff at the house. But I had a great time. How was Christmas?
Man, we enjoyed it. We we flew in late Monday night, got in about midnight, and spent Tuesday with the family and relaxing, and did Christmas with Becky's mom, and that night, Christmas Eve night, with my mom, and then worked yesterday at the center. And man, there was some rumors going around that there wasn't going to be anybody yesterday at the center and that everybody was going to be on pass. I don't really understand how that happened, but man, we had the biggest Christmas that we've had in several years, or since before COVID.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and refreshing too.
Oh,
because,
man, it was
you
nice.
know, you get used to a certain thing, and then when COVID, I don't even want to say COVID happened, whatever happened during all of that time, it just greatly changed the trajectory of a lot of things, and you wonder if you're ever going to get back to normal, and so getting to experience that was really
Yeah,
good.
the numbers being back up at the men's center and everything, and so yeah, man, we were packed yesterday. We had a great time, and a great time in the Lord. And something we did yesterday morning, you know, you might see it on Facebook, might not have, but we read through the Christmas story, and with the clients out of Matthew and Luke, and man, they really enjoy doing that, and we filmed it and put it on Facebook. And hearing grown men read the Bible is just always really cool for me. And so, something that we said was that, you know, if you're going to do things different or expect different results, you got to do things different. And, traditions, starting good traditions instead of bad traditions is a good thing. So we read through the Christmas story together yesterday. So next year, when the guys read the Christmas story with their family, it won't be the first Christmas they did it. It'll be the second Christmas that they did it.
Yeah.
So we helped them start a new tradition, and that's always cool. And then got to go to the Women's Center and hang out with those ladies over there. And I think my daughters want to eat at the Women's Center next year. They enjoy being over there with them and everything. And then finally, we did our Christmas last night. So straight off of that Christmas last night, and we do a big deal at Christmas and really enjoyed each other, and it was really good.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. This is the first year, probably since I've been married, that we have been done with Christmases on Christmas.
Okay.
That hasn't happened in a very long time. The way that my family is, kind of separated out. And then Courtney's got a huge family as well. And then having the children, there's usually someone sick or something, or just scheduling conflicts, all kinds of different reasons. So it's really nice that it's the day after Christmas and we're not still having to plan and run. Right. And so get to do a version of relaxing, which there's never really any real relaxing. We're chasing our kids around all the time, but that is a different type of relaxation, and
Right.
it's rest all the same. And so we're pretty pumped about that, man. We had a really good time.
So last year at this time, y'all were having a baby, right?
Yes, we had a baby December 22nd.
Yeah.
And so we were in the hospital for Christmas and all that.
Right.
So,
Hey, and last week we talked about time management and everything, and just so y'all know, if you're new and haven't always listened to Jesus Cartel, last year Andrew had 3 children, 6 and under, and had a baby, and still did not miss filming Jesus Cartel.
that's right. Yeah,
pretty
Joshua Uteman, actually.
Yeah.
I can't remember who was with him, but I do know for sure it was Josh, brought me my laptop to the hospital so that I could edit the episode. So while my wife was having a baby, I was editing the episode to put it out.
So time management, man, we really don't make excuses.
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
live
right.
by what we talk about.
Yeah, somebody asked in our job readiness class the other day, he was like, they're gonna be an episode next week? I was like, oh yeah, for sure. This would be an easy year.
Yeah,
Easier
man.
to do an
Yeah,
episode.
we didn't even have a kid.
Yeah, and so, man, it matters. It matters to us. The Jesus Cartel is something that matters to a lot of people, and for that reason, man, it matters to us. And that's ultimately the way that I prioritize things, is by number of people positively affected, And so everything I do affects my children and my wife. And so, they find themselves pretty far up there in the priority list. And then there's a lot of things that I do that it just kind of trickles out into spaces and places. And over 2 years, we've accumulated a lot of listeners and stuff like that, and we've been able to help a lot of people. And constantly, we just learned of another new listener the other day, and we want to continue doing this for the people that it matters to. And
I met a client's mom yesterday that just really felt a lot more connected with Fresh Start, the church, the body of Christ, and everything. Just because of getting to listen to Jesus Cartel. She felt like that she, kind of knew what was going on, and felt, like she knew the leaders and everything that her son was under a lot better just from Jesus Cartel.
Yep. We talked about it a little bit in our class this morning too, just because, our facility that we work at, it goes through cycles of sometimes really, really strong, sometimes it's really weak, sometimes it kind of finds itself there in the middle. And we were discussing this morning that I would say that we're somewhere in the middle right now. Mm-hmm. It's not we definitely don't have a bad group of guys. And there are some, when I say this it's not a blanket statement for every individual. There are some strong individuals too. There are some weak individuals too. Mm-hmm. But as a whole, we're kind of in the middle right now. And the reason I say that is because the majority of people are only pursuing excellence when there's a thumb over them. And that is what separates people from being average or people from being excellent, is what are you doing when you don't have to be excellent?
Right.
How do you behave? How do you conduct yourself when nobody's watching? When you have the opportunity to not pay attention, when you have the opportunity to not glean something, do you take notes when the pastor's preaching? You got an opportunity to be excellent there. If you're not taking notes when the pastor's preaching, you're not going to go to hell over it, but you are missing an opportunity to be more excellent. Mm-hmm. And so why should you take notes? To try to be more excellent. It's got nothing to do with who's watching or what kind of credit it gets you or anything like that. We're not trying to brown nose our way to the top. But those are the people that do well. It's the people that are trying to be excellent when they don't have to be. Mm-hmm. And right now I just see a lot of complacency. And man, I hate it because of how difficult it is for the guys coming in. Mm-hmm. So we got a bunch of new guys coming in right now, and they're walking into a facility that's largely complacent. Not everybody, but largely it's complacent. And that sets a very bad temperature for them. It tells them, hey, look, you're just here to ride time. And, so I would just encourage the guys that are listening, man, what you're doing matters. Everything that I do matters. It's under a microscope. Somebody was joking with Jim. I say joking. They may not have been joking. They were talking the other day with Jimmy. Jimmy was sharing with me that they were talking about some of the staff and, some of the crazy things some of the staff members had done. And someone was like, hey, well, give us some dirt on Andrew. And Jimmy was like, well, I really don't know. And it's like I told Jimmy, I said, man, that's one of the benefits of being a pastor is you are under a microscope of accountability. So I can't even think about doing wrong things or I'm toast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not a small thing for me to make a small mistake. A small mistake for me is life altering. And so it holds you to a higher standard. And so I would just encourage those other guys, like, dude, what you do matters. Mm-hmm. Hold yourself to a higher standard. You don't know what you're communicating by your complacency. Yeah. And then you don't know what you're missing by not trying to glean everything that you can glean. So, man, I just want to take this opportunity to, hey, we got a new year coming up. Right. I'm not big on resolutions, but if there's a time to set a new path for yourself, a new year is just a great milestone event to do that. Man, let this be the year. Let 2025
today
be the year.
Is the only day that you'll have today, Sure. And so make the most out of it. Do the best that you can do, Don't try to, see, we'll push it to tomorrow or I've learned enough for today or whatever. But, man, just keep pushing forward and being everything that God wants you to be, because, something that, you may or may not know about us is we're really wanting to see you reach your full potential, not just to get better version of who you used to be, but we want to see you reach your full potential in Christ. And the only way you're going to do that is by pressing that mark. Andrew talked about taking notes. I mean, even if you take notes and never go revisit those notes, at least by you writing it down, it went to your memory more. It's like you heard it twice.
Yeah.
You heard it come in from the pastor, and then you heard it again when you were reading it while you were writing it. And so even if you never even go back to it, one thing that I like about it is it makes when I get ready to preach sermons and stuff so much easier. The hardest thing about it's kind of like when you get ready to cook supper. The hardest thing about cooking supper is knowing what you're going to cook. Hardest thing about preaching is knowing what you're going to preach about, right? And so, if you took some notes and were able to look at something that somebody else said and you're like, man, I want to kind of preach that, but I'm going to go a different direction, at least you got the topic and some of the verses to get started, and it's just a lot easier, There's nothing new. Everything is already in the Bible. And so just finding new ways to communicate it and move it forward is a cool thing.
For me, if you watch me listen to a sermon, you won't see me holding a notebook and pen. And so the first thing you may think is, well, that's kind of hypocritical. Well, I've been ministering now for 14-ish years. And with that comes having heard a lot of Bible. A lot of sermon, and so for me, I don't take a note on every word that's ever spoken. But when anybody says anything in a message that I'm unaware of or contextually didn't understand before or anything like that, here's what I do: is I go back, because almost every message everywhere is filmed nowadays. I go back, I sit down with it where I can pause it, and I will transcribe the entire message and then rewrite it in notes for me to preach exactly as that message was written. That's how I take in information and don't lose it. Mm-hmm. The reason I don't personally take notes during the message is because when I write, I'm not listening. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like we talked this morning about listening to respond rather than listening to hear. When you're thinking about what you're going to say next, you can't hear what they're saying. And so it's the same way with me. When somebody says something really impactful and I start jotting all this down, because I'm somebody who wants to write it down exactly what was said. I don't want a bullet point note of it. I want all of it. I'm going to miss whatever's coming next. And so I try to take in the full context, and then I go back to it later when I can access the speed at which it's given to me. And so the reason I bring that up, the whole reason I even told you that, is because my life is under a microscope. Mm-hmm. And someone who just heard me say you need to be taking notes is going to be wondering why I don't have a notebook. Well, that's why. It's because I go back and do it on the latter half of it. And I'm okay with my life being under a microscope. Mm-hmm. It's okay. It doesn't bother me. The code to my phone is all nines. If you find it, you're welcome to look through it. This is a much better way to live.
Yes.
It's a much better way to live at peace. My wife can go through my phone. Like, I don't have to worry about where my phone is, because what if she finds it, or what if my kids get a hold of it? And God, I can't even imagine having to live like that. That sounds miserable.
Yeah, if you ask a lot of people, man, what's the best thing about Clay Russell, they're going to tell you he's the same way no matter what. Wherever he's at, whatever's going on, he's not one way here and one way there. And then if you ask people what the best thing, worst thing about Clay Russell is, most people are going to say he's the same way all the time. You know, I mean, it is what it is, and that's just kind of the way we live our lives.
Yep. So we've got I hate to give it a season, but we are in a season right now where a lot of people are taking ill, which is not super ideal. We got a lot of people sick around the center, a lot of people sick in families and the churches and stuff like that. And so, sponsor today, ibuprofen.
Okay.
Ibuprofen is stepped up to the plate and said that they want to become a bronze level sponsor. I was not super pleased with the bronze level sponsorship, but hey, it's not nothing. So just want to toss them out today. I asked them, a little bit about their product, like what do you take it for, and they were just like, whatever. And so you find yourself in a pickle, take an ibuprofen, see what happens. Is basically what they said. And whether or not that's true, I don't know. It hasn't worked for me.
It helped your sinuses.
It hasn't helped me with anything. My sinuses, my shoulder, all that, ibuprofen won't touch it. And so the shoulder is starting to get a little better. It's still, the pain level is the same, but the range of motion is increased. Good. So I'm still hurting as much as I was hurting, but I can move much more now. I can start to press over my head and stuff again, which I haven't been able to do for weeks. It's still very weak. I couldn't press anything heavy, but heavier than I could. And so we're maneuvering the correct direction.
So is the pain the same no matter if you're using your range of motion or not?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. It's most painful when I first wake up. When I first wake up, for whatever reason, it's a pretty severe amount of pain that once I get up and I do like some shoulder impingement stretches, the pain pretty much ceases and I'll be good for the day until I lay on it again. And I don't lay on it intentionally, just in the night, tossing and turning and stuff. That seems to put it back in a pretty severe bind. But other than that, man, that's going well.
Well, look, I just got back from the Yucatan Peninsula.
Not the Mexican restaurant in Pineville.
That's right. Just got back from Takash and had a great time. And, we had a wonderful time. And I always say that I have another family in Takash. And I know that sounds weird to people because I do travel all over the world. I have friends all over the world. But I truly have a family in Takash, and Pastor Moses Chan has been my Mexican pastor for the last 20 years, and just love him and his family, and was able to bring Miss Becky and Cooper, and they were able to just see why I love Takash, why I love the people. It's been several years. I think the last time I went, you and I went together. I think. Yes. So I went with Courtney first, and then you last. And so that's been several years since we went. It was before COVID. And so getting to go, hang out with them and stuff was great. I did not carry any of my Jesus Cartel shirts with me there. I carried one that is kind of hidden. It's All Good Days and just has the emblem. But I didn't want the big Jesus Cartel shirts because of being in Mexico and everything, and I felt like people wouldn't understand. But one of the nights, I think it's the second or third night, Pastor Moses' son, Samuel, I think, had found out about Jesus Cartel.
Yeah.
He's 16, 17 years old, and we found out, and he had told Gamaliel, which is Moses' brother that was translating for me, and Gamaliel goes, I heard about Jesus Cartel. And I was like, well, I was trying to keep it a secret, And so I think that we're now going to have a whole new audience in the Yucatan Peninsula for the Jesus Cartel. So, so we're excited about that. I did not broadcast it out there. I didn't introduce myself as a member of the Jesus Cartel when I preached to the people and everything. But at the same time, I think word gets out. And hey, something funny that is pretty cool is yesterday or day before yesterday, Christmas Eve, my phone starts blowing up a little bit. And I asked Becky, I said, man, the phone's blowing up a little bit. And she goes, yeah, it always happens that way for you. And I thought, we're trying to rent a house. We got a house that could be for rent. I thought that's what she's talking about. And she's talking about friend requests on Facebook from people in the Yucatan, and it doesn't usually happen while I'm there. It happens when I get home. It's kind of weird, but yet, yeah, we have added a lot more friends on Facebook since we returned home. And hey, I'm excited about it. I enjoy meeting new people. I enjoy hanging out with my old people. I just enjoy people in general. And for some reason, the people in Takash are my people.
Yeah.
I just enjoy them. So.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome. So you had your Christmas get together last night, Christmas night.
Yes.
Man, tell me a little bit about the gift exchange. Did you get anything interesting?
Yeah, man, we did good. So Christmas Eve, we did presents with Becky's mom, who is not like this big shopper or anything like that. She usually gives money and stuff. But this year, she decided to get all of the guys. I'd heard it was the boys, but she decided to get all the guys the same gift, and she got us all these really cool gold chains.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so excited about that. So Cooper's got his first gold chain. And so I'm excited, but I didn't realize I'd be getting one too. And then my mom always tries to take care of me. She, she lives across the concrete from us and everything, and so she knows what I like, knows what I need, those kind of things. And so she got me a brown pair of dress boots that I'm very happy about, and a really nice shirt that I wore yesterday. So actually yesterday to the center, I wore a nice shirt that my mom got me and the shoes that she got me.
Praise God.
Yeah.
Brand
and
new.
then last night we had Christmas, and we do too much for Christmas. But at the same time, we don't just always buy stuff throughout the year either. We kind of save it up. So every Christmas, we're getting new underwear, new socks, Cooper and I got, I think, 4 different packs of black Nike socks because we both wear, black Nike socks almost every day, And so we get those kind of things, I get a big thing of cashews and a big thing of, pecans and, different things like that. Becky gets us new toothbrushes, so we get those kind of things, but then we get presents also. And so, shoes is a big deal to me, and we've talked about that on the show, that I'm kind of obsessive when it comes to shoes. I like to give them away, and I like to receive them and stuff. So Elena and Cooper got me a bunch of different meats from Log Cabin. So I got a filet, a ribeye, some crawfish boudin, and all that. And Elise got me a really cool pair of Cole Haan shoes that are a little cooler than I am, and I like them and ready to wear them. And then Miss Becky got me a pair of Dunks. So Cooper got a pair of Dunks from grandmother.
Are you saying dunks?
Dunks.
Like something Michael Jordan would do?
Yeah. So Dunks.
Okay.
They are the low top, real pretty fashionable color tennis shoes that Nike makes called Dunks. And so I didn't wear them today because it's raining outside, and they're really too nice for that.
Sure.
So Cooper got a light gray pair that are really cool. He wore them yesterday to a fresh start for Christmas and everything. And then I got a pair that's called Berlin that are black, that have some gray mixed in and stuff. And so they're just really cool tennis shoes. Yeah. And so, hey, I'm excited about them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So we got a lot of other stuff too, but those are just some things.
Sure. A tale as old as time when it comes to men and Christmas, typically at least, is, and it's almost become kind of a running joke that men just buy knives for each other. That's just kind of a thing. And a lot of guys, I guess, kind of feel like maybe that's played out, or I can tell you, I love it. I love a knife, and every year I get a knife or two from some different places. And man, I got 2 knives this year that are super, super nice. I was very, very excited about those. And I got a shaker plate, which is a whole new world of things for me that I've yet to even research properly, but I've been looking into that. It's like a health fitness kind of situation. Really nice shirts and jackets. People always trying to make me look nicer than I am for Christmas. And I understand, and I need it because I'm not going to buy it.
Yeah.
So if you don't buy it for me, I'm not going to look nice. And so I appreciate people doing that. And then, man, I got some really cool gifts, including this hat that I'm wearing right now. And I was super excited about. I got 2 hats this year, and I was super excited about it. I'm not a big gift guy, just in general. It's cool. Like, I appreciate it. I'll never not appreciate it. But I'm just one that's like, you give me a gift, you don't give me a gift, I usually leave feeling the same. It's just kind of my nature. But these are really cool because I've been collecting hats since I was a small child. Baseball hats, Red Sox hats primarily, but hats in general. Well, a few years back, I lost all my hats that I've been collecting for years. We lived in a house that the temperature control wasn't real good in. It was an older house. The airflow and stuff just wasn't great. And we had stored them in a place and didn't realize how bad it was. It ruined every hat I had ever collected. And we had to get rid of them. And so there was 2 hats that I had when I started coming around down in Ritchie. And one was a Montgomery Biscuits hat, which is what I'm wearing right now. It was one of the hats I lost, and the other one was a Boston Celtics hat. And they got me a new Montgomery Biscuits and Boston Celtics hat, and
nice.
I thought that was really cool. And so it was a neat thing, and people got me some different like little golf things and stuff like that. And I love little. You can never have too many golf accessories because the stuff you use in golf, you have to use over and over again. Golf ball, golf tee, ball markers, stuff like that. Those things get lost and come and go. And so, got some neat stuff, man. It was cool.
I got a question.
Yep.
Did you get a gift from anybody that Courtney wished that you wouldn't have got? Maybe she wished she wouldn't have gave it to you. Maybe she wished that somebody else wouldn't have gave it to you.
So Courtney and I don't do gifts for each other.
Right.
We never have. I don't think so. I'd have to think about it, but I don't think so.
The reason I'm asking is because I did receive a gift that my wife probably wished that I wouldn't have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do tell.
So Becky went to Lemons and got Cooper and I both grunt calls. And they not just a grunt call, but they got, I hadn't researched it a lot, I don't know a whole lot about all that. There's a D and an F.
Yeah.
So I figured the D is for doe, but maybe the F is for fawn. I really don't know. But if you push one of them, you can make it go deep, and I think that's a grunt call. But if you push the other one and you blow on it at about a 6 on a scale from 1 to 10, it makes the most obnoxious sound that you ever heard to everybody except the one that's blowing it. Now, the one that's blowing it really doesn't have any difficulty at all.
Yeah.
So this was in my stocking. So our children decided we're going to do stockings on Tuesday. So
you've had it for...
Oh, my goodness, yeah. We might need to buy another one.
Is that how you call for supper now?
Oh, my goodness. That's how I call for everything.
It does stand for fawn, by the way.
Oh, yeah. So I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's outstanding.
That is a great gift.
Yeah, I think it's outstanding. And so, Chris was at the house yesterday and, or last night for a little while, and as he could fit us in his schedule. And he was trying to tell me this real deep story about his family and different things like that.
Boring.
And, yeah. So I just told him that, I said, man, I can tell you how to fix that. and I gave him a good solid grunt call.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think he quite understood what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
But there were several things I was trying to say. Number one, I
Bankers.
didn't care about his story. And
Bankers are a little. That takes them a minute.
Well, number two, I wanted to make sure that he understood that we don't have to let things like that bother us.
Sure.
And another thing is, I really wish that he knew more about grunt calls. So it is what it is.
Yep. That's good. That's good. No, I don't think I got anything like that. And Courtney's pretty well embraced what she has.
She likes the shirts that she
has
got
to deal
and different
with
things
me.
like that.
My brother-in-law got me a bunch of 308 ammunition, so I'm pretty stoked about that too. Very much was in need of some. So, yeah, man, it was a good time. It was
Amen.
a good trip, good weekend.
Well, we hope that all
before.
of you had a great Christmas, and we know holidays can be stressful and can be difficult, and losing loved ones and different things like that, and we've experienced those things too. And so, like I said, last year was a lot more hectic for Andrew, a lot more going on. This year was a little more relaxed, and so we've experienced both sides of it. So, hey, we sympathize with anybody that had difficult Christmases, and we rejoice with all y'all that had great.
That's right. And if you think you got the best gift, shoot us a message.
Oh, okay.
Let us know. I'd like to analyze the gifts that people got, your best gift, and make a decision and an announcement of this person got.
Well,
the
I can
best
tell you
gift.
who's going to win. I can tell you, man. And I don't even know what it's called. So I'm going to seem really weird even talking about this. So I'm hoping you already kind of know, because I don't know what it's called. But Jerry Scriber got some new tea dispenser, some tea maker
Was
or
that
something.
a Christmas thing?
Well, he got it during Christmas time.
Yeah,
I don't think it was a Christmas
It
gift.
is really cool, though.
It is really cool. He might have bought it for himself. I'm not saying. All I'm saying is during this time period that I've been gone, the coolest gift that I've heard about since I got back, Jerry Scriber had.
It looks very futuristic.
Yeah.
It's
He
just-
said it's like a computer-generated tea maker.
Yeah. It's really cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And it
Yeah.
smells phenomenal.
It might not even be a gift. He might have bought it for himself.
Very
But,
possible.
You know, it is
Very
what it is.
possible. Yeah, that would be cool. But yes, I would like to
Yeah.
cast judgment on people's gifts and make an ultimate decision what gift we find to be the most superior gift. So let us know what you got, and heck, we might even do a little prize for the person that wins. Maybe a little gift card somewhere or something like that.
Ibuprofen.
Or maybe a steak. You know, and all kind of things we can do.
2 ibuprofens.
And a steak. When the ibuprofens would be crushed and pressed into the steak. I'll tell you what, one of the guys at the center did give me a pack of hot chocolate.
Really?
And I was pretty stoked about that.
Okay.
I was pretty stoked about that.
You
He
know
was
the-
listening. He took in that experience, and I had it within 30 minutes of him giving it. It was fantastic.
You know, the last person that gave me coffee at the center had stolen.
Yeah.
So do you think your hot chocolate was stolen, or do you think that...
Well, it wasn't that guy, for sure. It was someone else. And so, no, I don't think he stole it. I don't think he stole it.
but you don't know.
I don't know. That's true. That's true.
Well, I drank hot chocolate last night for the first time in a long time. I
Yeah.
told you I always think about it, but don't always drink it. And so I drank it last night, and I drank a no sugar added hot chocolate. But as I was pouring some water in, I was like, well, Andrew said milk too. So I did about 2/3 water, 1/3 milk, heated it up, and it was great. I really enjoyed it.
You should be put in jail. This is the first time I've had a Coke in a long time.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Where'd you get that from?
I found it over there. This is stolen. Yeah. It's about what I remember, which is not great.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Pepsi products are far superior.
Does that got a Santa Claus on it or something?
I thought it was a homeless guy, but
Oh,
yeah, I
awesome.
guess that is. Yep, that makes more sense.
Okay.
Cool. Well, last week we talked about time management.
Yes.
And we finally got to get into the weeds on that. I know we'd been trying to for a couple of weeks, but finally nailed it down. And, man, I got a good response from a lot of people on that. A lot of people, that's an area they struggle. And so most of the people that came and talked to me about the time management episode, very few of them were like, I think I may have only got one comment this week that was like, hey, yeah, that was a good episode. That's exactly what I do. All the rest of the comments were, dude, I dropped the ball in this area so hard. Like, this is really terrible. Super glad y'all talked about it. Now, if I can just get the discipline to actually implement some of these things. And that's the trick to really everything is you can have the right idea, but if you don't have the discipline to implement the idea, having the right idea is useless to you. And so this week we're shifting gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about being responsible and being dependable, which are kind of two sides of the same coin. But but they do have their differences as well. And so what's the first thing kind of comes to mind when you say, hey, look, because this all stems from the series of kind of raising your children. So what does it mean to raise your children to be responsible and be dependable? Where are those two things the same? Where are they different? And what jumps off the page to you?
Yeah, so the first thing I was going to do is remind everybody that this does come from that article. Raising your children, teaching those things, and so the first thing is responsible. The first thing that I think there is accountable for your actions. You're responsible as far as, you're given, in order to be responsible, you had to be given responsibility. People aren't going to give you responsibility for very long if you aren't doing well with it, So somebody that's responsible is somebody that I can give responsibility to and know that they're going to take care of it. This is a big deal that I teach people that I disciple all the time, whether it's at the center or in life and stuff. I like to be able to give a task to people and know that it's for sure going to be taken care of, because I know that they're responsible, right? Right before I left to go on my trip on Wednesday, I gave a task to someone to take care of that was, it benefited other people. And so I gave them this task. They said, no problem. They got it. I'm paying them to do it anyhow, That was on Wednesday. Monday morning, I woke up wondering if that task had been completed or not. And it should have been completed Wednesday.
Yep.
So Monday morning, I woke up wondering if it had been completed or not. So I called somebody else to check on it, and they said, no, it's still there. So it hasn't been given out. It hasn't been done. So I said, look, I need you to do it now. And this is the way I want it done. And you could do it this way now, because if we wait and try to do it the other way, then it may or may not happen. So let's go ahead and just, call an audible and do it this way. And I said, okay, that was Monday morning. No problem. And then so yesterday when I got to work, I started hearing a couple of stories about how things, something that happened that was a little bizarre, know? And so I'm wondering what's going on. And I found out what happened is neither the first person nor the second person did what I asked. So the second person thought about it really, really late Tuesday night and asked the first person to go do it. So they did it at midnight to get it done before I got to work the next day.
Praise God.
And it was awkward as all get out. And it was because they weren't being responsible and didn't handle the business the way that I wanted them to, and the way that they agreed to.
Yeah.
This wasn't some big hard deal or anything. It was simple. I was paying them during this time anyhow to do it, and it didn't get done in a timely fashion. Now, next time that I'm trying to give them a responsibility, either one of them, I want to be confident that they're going to be able to get the task done. The issue is that it will be in the back of my mind. It's kind of like if you want somebody to believe you 100% of the time, you have to be factual 100% of the time.
Yep.
Well, now the last experience I have with asking these people to do something, they agreed to it and didn't get it done.
Yeah.
I love them. I think they're great. They still work for me. We're not going to fire them, but at the same time, am I 100% confident that they're going to be able to get this done? I'm not.
Yeah.
And that leads into dependability. So in order to be responsible, you have to have people that will give you responsibility. And then in order to be dependable, to truly be dependable, then you have to do what you say that you're going to do with that responsibility, in order to be able to depend on people. Now, I will say this. I love to have people depend on me. It's something, man, being dependable for other people is huge to me. it's a huge part of my life. That's the reason why I don't shy away from accountability. You know, you said it best earlier. You said you live under a microscope, and you chose that. Well, I live being known as somebody that's dependable, and I chose that.
Yeah.
I chose that. I'm cool with that. You know, we've talked on this show before. You know, technically, it doesn't matter when I get to work, but I'm used to getting to work before 7. If I'm going to be work after 7, I text my coworkers and let them know that, hey, I'm going to be there after 7. Now, they're not my superiors. They work for me, but at the same time, I want to be known as somebody that's dependable. And so I just think that being responsible and being dependable and being accountable are 3 major things that all have a lot of similarities that we do need to teach our children. And the best way to teach our children is by us doing those things.
That's good.
Yeah.
If, mind you, I believe that these 2 things intersect strongly, responsibility and dependability. But if I was going to separate them in my mind, here's the way that I would do it. And I've looked at the Webster's definition of both of these words, and so I am aware of how they're technically defined. But I wouldn't say that the textbook definitions really get into the reality of those words, if that makes sense. Responsibility, in my opinion, is something you owe to yourself. And dependability is something you owe to others. But responsibility is the foundation for dependability. If you're not independently responsible, you're not going to be dependable. It's just unrealistic. And so there are some things I have to do every day. These are my tasks. There's a time I have to wake up. There's a time I have to get to my first job. There's a time I have to get to my second job. There's a time I have to get to my third job. And there are responsibilities for my 4th job that have to be done. And then I got to check on my 501c3 things. All those things have to be done every single day. Those are my responsibilities. Nobody's going to ask me about them. Like, I have to get them done. I'm only going to get asked if I don't do them. But if everything's done correctly, I won't hear anything about any of those things. Those are my responsibilities. It's also my responsibility to make sure that my children are taken care of during the day. It's my wife's responsibility to do as well, but I have a role that I have to play in that I'm responsible for. While she is doing the hands-on stuff, I'm supplying the things that she's doing the hands-on stuff with, and I got to make sure that happens. I got to make sure that it's at the house, and if she needs this and that to do the school or this or that to feed the children, I got to make sure that it's there. Those are my responsibilities. If I do it right, no one's going to ask me about it. That's all on me. I owe that to myself to do those things. If I do those things properly, what I become is someone who is responsible. Now, responsible people tend to also be dependable people. And dependability is something like you were discussing earlier. It's if you ask me to do something, if I'm dependable, you don't have to keep thinking about it. If I'm not dependable, it's going to be in the back of your mind. And the problem a lot of people don't understand with dependability is it's a building factor, and you can lose all of your dependability with one failure. Where responsibility is kind of like a daily war, I would say, because it's you answering to you for the most part. Dependability is not so. Dependability is you answering to someone else. And you can be dependable for a really long time and then drop the ball majorly there, and you kind of got to start over in people's mind, and it's very difficult. And so you can't afford not to be dependable. Where occasionally, if you drop the ball or you're irresponsible with something, you can pick up the pieces of that, press forward, and kind of grind through the difficulty that you created for yourself. Dependability is not so. You're subject to the public opinion of not just the persons you let down, but anybody that they might not let know about how you let them down. And man, that's a tough pill to swallow sometimes. And so, man, when you give your word, you need to make sure that gets done at all cost, because there's a lot more weighing on that than you realize. And man, I know some great people. I'm not going to call them by name, obviously, because I love them. I know some great people. I'll use one in particular. I know a great person, just beautiful soul, kind, not dependable. And this person is known in the community as a fantastic person that is wholly unreliable. And it's like, man, that's two really terrible things to be known as simultaneously. It's like you're somebody who would give the world to somebody if you're going to show up at all, which we're not certain you will, but you might. And if you do, it'll be awesome, but there's a real good chance you don't show. That's tough. Yeah. That's tough, man, because they have all the right qualities, but nobody knows whether or not they're going to be there to use those qualities. And it's like, golly. Right. And so even though they've lived a great way for a long time, and they've built a great reputation for their character, they've also built a reputation of that character not being available most of the time, and not to be somebody to call when you're in a pinch. And that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. And so, man, dependability and being somebody that when you give your word, you have the integrity to make sure that you see that thing through is huge. It's also how you move up in the world, by being dependable, because and Scripture talks about being faithful with the small things. If you're faithful with the small things, you'll be given more. Life operates on those same principles. When you can count on me to do little things, eventually you'll give me greater responsibilities. You continue to see me succeed in handling those, then you give me more, and eventually it leads to a promotion or whatever, wherever you are in life. Maybe you're now the starting shortstop. You were the second string shortstop. Whatever. When you handle the small things, you continue to stack success on success on success, and then you're given bigger opportunities, and you're stacking more success on that. Man, people want to put you in charge of more, and so that's ultimately how opportunity is birthed. Is first by being responsible, and we can learn to be accountable to yourself. It's very easy to be accountable to other people, because when there's nobody looking at you, you do the right thing. If you can only do the right thing when other people are watching you, the odds of you being somebody that has any real follow through are very slim, because you've not built that lifestyle for yourself. And it very much is a lifestyle. And you've got to commit yourself to your integrity, and it's got to matter to you. And I say it all the time, man, I will protect my integrity at all costs, because once I lose it, I lose a lot more than you realize, because most of my life is built on my word being rock solid. And the minute that's gone, I lose a whole lot.
Yeah. Yeah, you can have a person that's real responsible in the sense that they're going to take care of their responsibilities, but they're not dependable in the sense that they're not going to do anything for you.
That's right.
And we do see some people like that. We don't tend to hang out with people like that because that's not really our character. But there are some people that handle their business well. They just don't allow other people to depend on them. Yep. That's difficult to me because, I want to see the best in everybody. I want to see everybody grow. And if you being able to depend on me helps you grow, then, hey, I'm all about it. I want to be able to be there for you. If it's just, giving you a word of encouragement, or knowing that, hey, if everybody else isn't there, Clay's still going to be there. Mm-hmm. I like being dependable, but you can have somebody that's responsible and not dependable.
Yeah, and vice versa. So a responsible person that's not dependable is exactly what you talked about. It's somebody that their bills are paid on time, they clock in, clock out at work when they're supposed to. But you say, hey, look, man, you mind if I borrow your truck? I need to, move some stuff, this weekend. And they're like, oh yeah, man, absolutely. And then the weekend comes, like, hey man, I still borrow your truck? Like, oh man, we done went to the LSU game this weekend, So he's responsible, but he's not dependable. Mm-hmm. Why? Because it didn't matter enough to him to set that time aside, and really put a note in, or he just prioritized what he had to do more than what he's, committed to helping you with. And look, there's times in life where opportunities come up you weren't aware you were going to have, but a conversation would have been due. Mm-hmm. Give them a call. Hey, look, man, I know I said you can borrow my truck this weekend. We just got invited to the LSU Alabama game. My wife and kids have never been to that before. Really want to take them. Would you, would there be any way that you'd be able to get by, somebody? I can probably make other arrangements, because you gave me some time. Yeah. You gave me some time to do something. But if you left me, and the last time we had the conversation, you're telling me, hey, man, I can fully rely on you for your help. And then the time comes, you're like, oh, man.
Yeah.
And then you just expect me to understand on the back end. It's like, bro, you can't, I couldn't pass up an opportunity like that. And it's like, no, you didn't have to pass up the opportunity, but a heads up would have been just beautiful. Yeah. And so that's someone who's responsible and not dependable. But the other is also true. You got somebody that'll drop everything to come help you, but then you go to their house and it looks like a daggum tornado ripped through there.
Not
and
taking
it's
care
just
of their own deal.
Yeah, or their own son. They show up late to work all the time, and they're just not, things aren't going well. It seems like they can't ever get ahead in life, but they're the most loyal person you've ever met. That's a irresponsible person, but very dependable. The problem with irresponsible people that are dependable is they're going to be there, but they don't bring a lot to the table. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, they're really just kind of a body. And sometimes that's all you need is a body, a little bit of support. If you need somebody to just talk to, they'll probably be super helpful. But if you really need to get something done, that person's probably not going to be super useful.
And they may be making a major sacrifice for you, but then you feel bad about it because it's detrimental to their to their personal.
Yeah.
And so then you don't want to ask them to do anything because you're like, man, if I ask this dude to come help me move, he's going to quit his job if that's what it takes.
Yeah.
And then you're like, man, you don't want to do that.
I know that sounds, there are people listening right now like, who would do that? Dude, I know people like that.
Yeah, I understand. And then you were talking about how, moving up in the corporate world or whatever by being dependable. We actually had this conversation last night. I told Cooper, I said, hey, man, he was in there working on his new watch or something. I said, hey, Cooper, do you want to come take out the trash?
What's wrong with his new watch?
He was getting it set.
Oh,
yeah.
To say.
Yeah, he's getting it set. And I was like, hey, Cooper, do you want to come take out the trash? And Annalise goes, yeah, that's kind of like when people at work ask me, hey, do you want to help me with this project, or do you want to help me get this, workload off of me or whatever? She goes, they're not really asking, they're telling. I said, yeah, but we're telling in a nice way, know. And so, but Annalise is known as someone that she is moving up and moving up fast, and one of the reasons is because she is one that will take on the extra work and do those things. And so I've learned in life that people don't like to get told no.
Sure.
So they're not going to ask the people that they think will tell them no. They're going to start with the person they think will tell them yes.
Sure.
So not only will she do the work, but they know it, so they only have to ask one person, and that's her. And so if you're the person that everybody asks, the next thing you know, everybody around you is promoting you and pushing you forward and stuff, because not only did you get the job done, but they didn't have to ask 20 other people. Instead, they're like, well, she's my go-to.
Yep.
Well, why is she your go-to? Because number one, she says yes, and number two, she gets it done. Know. Well, if it's time to promote somebody, who are you going to ask? The person that tells you no 50% of the time, or the person that always says yes and always gets it done? And so it's common sense. Now,
I agree.
Can you get used and abused that way? Sure, but there's also a humanistic approach to it too. That a very dependable person still gets to decide whether they take on a task or not. We're not saying you have to take on every task. We're not saying you have to be everything to everybody. We're just saying that when you do take on a task, that you complete it.
Yep.
Man,
two awesome things. One, I had a thought. Because my wife and I are constantly having a conversation like you just had, because I'm trying to break her of the asking in a nice way to our young children because they don't understand that. And so she's like, hey, do y'all want some eggs for breakfast? No, thanks. And it's like, okay. Now they think they have options. You know what I mean? It's like you actually didn't have options. What you should have said is, hey, sit at the table, we're having some eggs, Right. And so that made me laugh because, it doesn't work that way with children.
That's right.
And the other thing is Courtney is somebody who, her and I, we've talked briefly about it, totally different raisings, totally different family situations. And so, I'm having to catch up in a lot of areas to her. on some things. She's having to catch up in a lot of areas on me and some things. And so we're learning from each other, and we're constantly growing. And something that her and I have regular conversations about is communication. Yeah, because it's something that I do well. And so we just kind of work through some different things. And so she had an opportunity very recently where this exact situation was put in front of her, where no one necessarily asked for help, but help was needed. But it was not her responsibility to help. It was not her responsibility to help. And the people who needed to help were nearby and could have and should have been helping. And there was an immense pressure that she was feeling to go help because that's who she is. She's a good woman. She wants to be helpful. But what it was going to do was going to relieve the pressure from the other people to do what they needed to do. And so she asked me, she was like, man, what do we do here? Or what am I supposed to do here? And she just kind of laid out the whole situation to me. And I was about to tell her what to do. And she goes, you know what? No, we're going home. I was like, you sure? She's like, yep, we're going home. We're not going to put ourselves in a bind because somebody else isn't going to step up and do what they're supposed to do. And I was like, all right. And it was awesome because, her and I have been married for 10 years in a couple weeks. And we're always growing together and always working on these things together. And that was a huge step for her on her own, without my prompting, to get there, recognize that she was about to be taken advantage of, and rather than allow it to happen, say, you know what? This is a situation where I don't need to do this to myself. I'm going to step out of it. And if they need it done, they need to step up and get it done. And I was just like, so pleased on my end, because now I don't have to explain that to her. We don't have to be in that moment where, these people are around us, and I'm like, well, we probably really need to go. You know what I mean? Like, hey, that's on them. You don't want to have to do that. And I didn't have to now, because she's growing into that place of understanding that line between, hey, I can help here, but I can't help here. And that's, something that you're alluding to is we want to be people that always help, but you can't let yourself get taken advantage of. And there is a very fine line that you have to learn for yourself, and it can be difficult. But once you get boxed in as somebody who's always going to say yes, it's a task to get out of that mindset for yourself, because there's an immense social pressure to say yes, because you always do.
Yeah, we had an area over the last year to where there's some things that had to draw some lines in the sand and make some decisions and stuff. And I was asking a guy one time, he seemed a little critical to a decision that I was making, and I said, well, look, I said, it sounded like a train.
That sounded exactly like a train.
We don't have trains here.
We don't. Must be a truck with a train horn.
Maybe so. Well, maybe somebody got one for Christmas.
With their grunt call.
Yeah, that's right. So I asked the guy, I said, well, look, I've decided to not perform these duties, or take on this task. And you seem to have an issue with it. But you could take on these tasks, or all these other people could take on these tasks.
Sure.
But I've chosen not to take on these tasks, and you're a little critical of me because of that. Can you explain to me why? And he said, because you always have. And I said, I always have what? Well, you've always done whatever's needed, and this is needed, and you're choosing not to. I said, yeah, but you're also choosing not to.
Sure.
So we can get into an area to where, we're always the one taking on those things, and then when we don't, you can feel a little repercussions from that.
Somehow inadvertently it became your responsibility, even though it wasn't.
Right, and so in this particular task wasn't.
Sure.
It was just a need, like Courtney's deal. There was a need, And Courtney is used to supplying needs that need to be met, and but this time she chose not to.
Yeah.
Hey, it's well within her right, 100%. Why? Because now she gets to spend more time with her family and stuff instead of with trying to meet a need when she was not the easiest person to fill that need. There was just some other people, being lazy or selfish or whatever reasons. The other thing is, it gives other people an opportunity to step up and do something.
Yeah.
If they say, well, Courtney's always doing this or Clay's always doing that, then they feel like there isn't a space for them.
Yeah.
We've seen that on praise and worship team at church, for 20-something years. People's like, well, all the spaces are filled up on that worship team. They have all the instruments and everything. So even though I have these talents, I'm not needed. And so they don't even ask or tell people about their talents or anything because they see all of the positions being filled. But then what they don't understand is there's somebody on this team that really needs to be doing something else. But because they don't know of anybody else that can take this spot, then they're doing this, and there's something else that the ball's getting dropped.
Yep.
That there isn't somebody else to take that they can do.
That's good.
And so man, sometimes it is good to let other people have a turn and do those things too.
That's very good. And man, I would encourage everybody to give consideration before you respond to requests. I think very few people do. I think, again, it reaches into social pressure. You feel like you have to answer now. Hey, can you help me move this weekend? And I'm not sure whether or not we have anything going on. I'll check my calendar and let me go home, talk to my wife, and see if there's anything happening. Like, give yourself some actual time. And if they're like, well, hey, look, brother, I need to know, like, now. Well, that's on them. They're the ones who waited that long to get themselves into that pickle. You know what I mean? Like they procrastinated and shoved this off into the last minute. And I can't be responsible for that. That's not on me. I'm trying to genuinely give you an honest assessment of whether or not I can do this, but I'm going to need the day to think about it. And usually with me, the answer is yes. Almost always. You make time for things that matter to you. And or people that matter to you. So usually I can work it out, but I need you to let me see if I can. And there's some things I can't move around, and so don't fall victim to social pressure to answer everything right in the moment, man. Take your time, take a breath, figure it out.
So we want to teach our young people to be responsible and dependable, but just like with anything, basically anything that we talk about we also want to teach on the balance.
That's right.
We definitely want to be responsible. We definitely want to be dependable, but we don't want to be taken advantage of, and we don't want to feel like we got the weight of the world on our shoulders or on their shoulders all the time.
Yeah. That's right. That's good.
Man, that's good. Good conversation.
I feel good about it. You good?
Man, I'm good. Look, we love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Hey, y'all start telling even more people about Jesus Cartel. We got people watching that we've never even met before, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Coming soon in Spanish.
I was just going to say buenas noches, but that's good evening, good night.
Yeah.
Yeah. And buenas tardes, but how do you say bye-bye? Feliz Navidad. No, that's Merry Christmas.
Try adios.
Adios. There you go. Adios. See y'all later.